Why do they walk on you, specifically when you are trying to sleep? Over the course of this explainer, we're going to look at the biology, the survival instincts, and the crazy sensory world of your cat to figure this out. And I promise you, stick around until the end, because there is a deeply hidden emotional secret behind this exact behavior that will completely change how you view those 3 a.m. visits from now on.
All right, Section 1, Survival and Senses. Check in your vitals.
To really get this, we have to strip away our human perspective for a second and look at a purely biological instinct. They literally need to check if you're still alive. Notice the exact spots they tend to step on. It's rarely your shin or your forearm, right? It's almost always your chest, your throat, or your face. Why? Well, because those are the precise spots where your breathing and your pulse are most obvious. See, when the lights go out, your cat loses the visual cues they rely on all day. You're not talking, you're not walking around, you're totally unresponsive. Basically, as far as your cat is concerned, you have gone offline. And in the wild, sleeping next to another animal that suddenly stops moving, that's a massive threat. So they aren't just wandering aimlessly, they step on these exact pulse check targets to feel your chest rise or to catch the warmth of your breath, just to confirm you haven't actually died on them.
And this brilliantly illustrates another massive difference between us and them: their sensory input. Just look at this gap. We humans max out at hearing frequencies around 20,000 hertz, but cats, they can hear up to 64,000 hertz. That means while you are dead asleep in a quote-unquote quiet house, your cat is hearing a totally hidden world. They hear a pipe shifting behind the drywall, the fridge compressor clicking on, or a raccoon stepping through the grass 2 yards away. Your world is silent, but theirs is absolutely alive with sound.
So when their highly tuned acoustic radar picks up one of those strange noises in the middle of the night, instinct kicks in. They don't just freeze on the floor. No, instinct drives them to assess the situation from the highest, warmest, and most familiar vantage point available. And in your bedroom, that safest elevated surface is you. When they suddenly stand on your chest out of nowhere, they aren't being paranoid. They're actually reacting to something very real that you simply couldn't hear.
To back this up, a really fascinating study published in the Animal Cognition Journal found exactly this. They noted that cats can distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar sounds. This totally emphasizes that even when your cat looks completely passed out right next to you, they're never fully off. A part of their brain is just constantly scanning the environment, and when an unfamiliar sound registers, it leads directly to those sudden, seemingly unprompted chest stands. They're basically on guard duty.
Moving on to Section 2, Territory and Thermals. Marking and heating.
Beyond their senses, let's look at the physical reasons behind that nighttime pacing. It all starts with the invisible scent glands hidden deep inside their paw pads and this concept of renewing the lease. See, every single time they take a step on your skin or your blanket, those paw pads are leaving behind a chemical signature. Think about your day. You take a shower, you go out, maybe you pet other animals, you're effectively erasing their scent. By bedtime, your cat's claim on you is just gone. So they walk across you to reset it and declare ownership all over again. In fact, researchers at the University of Lincoln found that this marking behavior is significantly more urgent and frequent in multi-pet households, simply because the competition makes renewing that lease a top priority.
Then, you've got the simple math of body heat. A human's resting body temperature is around 37 degrees Celsius, but a cat naturally runs hotter, sitting between 38 and 39 degrees. Because their baseline is higher, they burn through their body heat way faster than we do, especially when the sun goes down and the house cools off. So what do? They seek out a heat source. You become their highly valued personal breathing space heater, which, by the way, is exactly why this behavior always seems to skyrocket during those cold winter months.
Let's move to and see how this builds into their actual routine. Watch how this biological math plays out. When they get on the bed, they don't usually just flop down instantly, do they? They do what feels like this random pacing routine. First, they walk across your legs. Then, maybe they pause on your stomach. Finally, they shift up and settle right on your chest. Guys, that isn't random wandering. It's actually a calculated thermal map. Through those ultra-sensitive paw pads, they are physically comparing the temperatures of different zones of your body, searching for your absolute hottest core temperature. Your chest generates the most heat, so that's exactly where the thermal map ends.
All right, Section 3, the dawn campaign. Ah yes, those early morning wake-ups. This brings us to a part of the night we all know way too well. You have to understand that cats are crepuscular. By definition, this means their bodies are biologically wired to be most active at dawn and dusk.
This is just an absolutely crucial misalignment in our schedules. Right when you are in your deepest, most restorative stage of sleep, your cat is naturally entering their alert, energized, biological prime time. And that brings us to the magic hour, 5 a.m. At this hour, your cat's behavior makes a dramatic shift. They go from passive sleeping or seeking warmth to executing a highly active agenda. They are fueled by either leftover boredom from being understimulated the day before, or, let's be honest, much more commonly, the anticipation of breakfast.
And they definitely don't need a clock to know breakfast is coming. A study from the University of Zurich found that cats can anticipate feeding times with shocking accuracy, sometimes down to a 15-minute window. This proves that if you normally feed your cat at 6 a.m. and they are walking on your face batting your nose at 5:45 a.m., that is not a random coincidence. That is calculated, precise planning. They know exactly what time it is, and they're making absolutely sure you don't forget.
So, the crucial point is this. Warning, reacting equals training. When they launch that 5 a.m. dawn campaign, what do you usually do? If you get up to feed them just to make them stop, or you engage and play with them, you aren't actually solving the problem. You are actively training them. You're teaching a highly intelligent animal that physically bothering you in the dark gets them exactly what they want. And once that clicks in their brain, man, it is incredibly difficult to untrain.
Finally, Section 4, the ultimate compliment, a display of trust. So we've talked about survival instincts, territory, and those relentless breakfast campaigns. But here is the deep, emotional secret behind this midnight pacing that I promised you. Sometimes, when they finally settle on your chest, they do a very specific movement. We often playfully call it making biscuits. You know, it's that slow, rhythmic pushing and kneading with their paws, pressing in and out. Biologically, this action originates from their very first days of life. Newborn kittens instinctively knead against their mother's belly to stimulate the flow of milk. It's a behavior deeply rooted in ultimate comfort and provision.
And here's the beautiful part. That physical instinct never actually leaves them. When your fully grown adult cat climbs onto your chest in the middle of the night and begins to knead, their brain is doing something incredible. They are literally accessing and replaying the closest thing they have to a childhood memory of total, absolute safety.
And the reason they're doing it right there, right on top of you, is deeply profound. In the quiet of the night, your rhythmic breathing, your body warmth, and the steady thump of your heartbeat all combine to create a perfect sanctuary. To them, you are the ultimate symbol of maternal love and security. Quite simply, in that moment, you feel like mom.
So the next time you feel those paws pressing into your chest in the dark, I have to ask, will you ever view a 3 a.m. wake-up the same way again? It's not just an annoyance. It's a thermal map, a survival check, and ultimately a profound display of trust. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this leaves you looking at your feline friend with a whole new level of understanding and empathy.